Hey everybody, we have Andre in the house.
Hi
Yay!
everyone.
You always have such beautiful places you're sitting at.
I know it's a they're great
Me,
backgrounds.
I'm still at the house, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, no, they're both nice. Your setup is really nice too.
So listen, okay, as I told you, everybody's all in a huff and wondering what the heck's going on with Trump, and you just assured me that his chart sucks.
Yeah, it's not a good scene. I mean, you can't expect every single thing, to go super smooth. Like you got this judge and everything, but you can just tell that things are downtrending, and the chart goes from one bump to another bump to another bump as we go toward the end of October, which we're kind of in that range already. We're in September, but you look at the cycles going that way, gets really intense and not in a good way for him. And so the odds of him getting significant victories, because you can't get everything. I mean, this thing with his judge, you could count it as a minor or Pyrrhic victory, but I don't think you can stop the tide because I bet you the judge is a little scared when she was told, "Hey,
I
this
felt
is."
like she was somebody, you know how they have all these people that work big time in the justice system. They said it's almost like she's waving a white flag, but she's still turning to Trump, asking for them to come back with something, and it's just ridiculous what they came back. No, they don't have a right with the classified, so they're acknowledging that classified's in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure the DOJ is saying to her, this
Oh
is.
no, the DOJ is going to work if they have to go to the president. I mean, they're going to go
Yeah,
up the chain of command. First, they're going to go to this next. I think that the higher court's going to tell her, mm-mm,
either that or some alternative thing. He can't, this is too big. This guy has stepped into it.
he's a
You
traitor.
know, he's a traitor and he's done the stupidest thing in terms of providing, sort of the Al Capone treatment. They don't get you for murder, they get you for tax evasion. They don't get you for, like insurrection, he clearly did it, but it's a harder case than this because this you can show papers, What were these documents doing at his house? Come on, that's the question. I'm sorry, not to mention that now there's this other rumor that some may not be at his house. That video that came out of things at Bedminster, they were loading up
They
a
were
plane or
loading
boat.
them up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so some are even asking, well, why aren't they raiding the other properties? Because, and maybe they will. I mean,
Maybe they will.
the thing is that once you start messing with this kind of thing on this level, and it's a really hard slog, and the astrology doesn't get better; it gets worse. Like especially
Okay.
as we go toward the election, post-election, 2023,
It's
not good at
you've been
all.
saying since you
Yeah,
and I first started talking. You said, "Oh, Linda, by the time we get into the mid 2022,
correct.
and especially in 2023, it's bad."
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, when did this thing really ramp up? Partly was the January 6th committee starts in early June, right? That
Yep.
started the downtrend. And that's when he was ignoring the subpoena. And sometimes with cycles, it's not like they happen then, but you're doing the things that cause it to happen after that. And he could have just said, okay, here are the documents. Instead, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. Bad idea because then the FBI, DOJ is worried. They're kind of wondering what's going on here. And they took action later, all within the same cycle. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Trump,
it's
I'm
it's a
sorry, but
beautiful thing. Now,
yeah.
what about Putin? Have you checked Putin lately?
Yeah, Putin it's just like the way to understand his chart is very maladjusted. And so it's not surprising at all that they're not going well. Even so, though, just realistically, if you expect it to happen overnight, probably won't. My sense is next year, probably when things really shake out, because the switch in the spring of 23 is really bad for Trump and Putin. And in Putin's case, it really emphasizes the health factors, like for 3 years.
Right,
That's a long
right.
time. When you're in
But
a
the
health thing,
bigwigs are telling him to stand down.
yeah, and he might have to
Yeah.
because in
And this
Russia,
is this is the Russia is the kind of place where you might accidentally fall out a window.
yeah, someone just did recently, didn't they? Some guy, I read that. I mean, it's incredible. I mean,
You can't keep going on with that kind of ugly without karma catching up with you.
Yeah, and he really miscalculated. He totally got this wrong, and
And even with Trump, if this had been in the days of J. Edgar Hoover and he had stolen all this stuff and was friendly with Putin the way he is, J. Edgar Hoover would have put a hit on him. I'm telling you right now.
yeah, no,
If this was back then, he'd already be 6 feet under.
times were different because
That's the way they rolled it back then. Now
exactly.
they don't do that anymore. The CIA used to be famous for taking out people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And now society's become more liberal, but not liberal enough. It's not anywhere near liberal enough that you can pack a box with nuclear secrets and take it to your house. That's not cool. He's put the DOJ in a position where it can't avoid charging him. They have
They would have liked to have turned the other way, but this they can't do this on this.
no, no.
This is
By the way, the other day I was looking at like how many fronts does this guy have, and I thought, is it 3 fronts? And I go, no, I counted five. He has at least five fronts that he's opened because he's got the Georgia thing, he's got the January 6th thing, he's got this thing with the documents, and then he's got Letitia, and now they're looking into. You notice they charged Steve Bannon, and right away there were stories saying, well, Trump is doing the same thing, except that instead of 1 million, it's 250 million.
yeah, they're talking about that.
And those are classic. You see those, and that program, American Greed. They're always catching people who start businesses and they get rake in a lot of money and they use it for something other than what they say. That is not allowed by law, right? And
Right.
once there's a paper trail, it's much easier to prove that and start fining and taking money or whatever than it is. Probably the hardest thing they have to do is to get accountability for what he did January 6th, because that's kind of, he can talk about free speech and all that stuff, and you have to convince a jury, blah, blah, blah. But the other stuff, that's not good, because whether it's Georgia, you make the phone call, give me the votes, that's not good, right? And then the things that are doing around taxes, documents, whatever. So he's got multiple fronts. By the way, this goes to what you said earlier, too. That can't be good for your health. You're walking around thinking, I'm in court in 10 different ways. Yeah, you can get a heart attack, you can get something to go wrong because your system is under constant stress. So
And he just now announced that he was secretly knighted by the Queen.
yeah, sure, he was secretly knighted. I bet you she was in the back of the room, throwing darts at his picture because she didn't look too happy. She looked about as happy as the Pope when she was
I know
arriving.
he has at Mar-a-Lago the flags at all his places. The flags are half mast. Somebody said, "Why are they half mast?" I said, "Well, he was secretly knighted by the Queen, so he's doing it in obligation to the Queen." He
Yeah,
loved all that pomp and circumstance. He loved it.
totally. Yeah, no, he was that. He's
Did you
that.
take a look at the monarchy at all?
Well, so full disclosure, I haven't been too focused on the monarchy over the years. People would ask me, but for some reason I just didn't focus a lot. I did do a in-depth study of Diana's at the time, and even years later, her chart is a very interesting chart, for different reasons. But I never focused a lot on the monarchy. But then I did look at the Queen now, and actually her chart is a really great way to understand how astrology works, the way it was vibrating when she passed away. But then I took a look at this thing that is going around, and I'm not claiming any hits on it. I'll go more along with what you're saying, which this idea that maybe his reign won't be that long.
That's what I'm feeling.
Okay, so I can't say that I'm getting any great intuition around it, but when I looked at the charts for Charles and William would be who would be the next heir, right, of the thing. So what you see is that it's not right away though. If you mean by long, like a week or two, to me it
Yeah.
looks more like about 2025, 2026. What happens is that you see in William's chart a big shift in direction toward his role in life, which tends to be that kind of thing, a big new thing that comes in concurrence with Charles's chart sort of going the other way, right? And so that would tell me that it's likely that if there was going to be that kind of switch, and it could be health related or even passing away related, because I know it's a little strange because his parents, I mean, if you go
They
by
live to be in their 90s. I know, but have you seen his hands? His fingers are so swollen and his hands are red.
Yeah, so he may not be in nearly as good a health. And one thing that I did notice with him is that we're not too far away from this. There's this thing happening in his chart by like by early next year that'll tell us a lot about what's going to happen because it's a big new cycle. So his mother's death comes instead of being at that new cycle, it's kind of at the end of the old cycle. So I want to see what he does around next year, March, April, May, in concurrence with that lunation cycle that is coming up to get a sense of what's going to happen next. But yeah, bottom line, I could see this in a few years shifting in a big way, especially from the look of William's chart. When you look at his.
Well, all this pomp and circumstance, and people are struggling out there. And I really had this psychic flash that one day, where's the big castle in London? What's that called?
Balmoral. No, you mean
No, Balmoral's in
in
Scotland.
Scotland. In Scotland. Yeah, in London, I don't know. It's a different name.
It's huge. Diana hated it. She said it was haunted. I think Henry VIII lived there too. And it's where the Queen's residence was, where they lay all the flowers. I can't think of the name of the place, but
Yeah, they have a. I mean, it's a really costly thing, and
yeah, well, I see it being a museum. I see them having people be able to pay to go through it.
well, I mean, the thing is, they all end up that way. I was in Spain in the summer, and visited the royal palace, and that's where the like Middle Ages Spanish kings used to. When Spain was ruling the world, and now it's a place that people go by. Oh yeah, look at this room. It's all made of porcelain and all
That's
this.
what I saw. That's
You
what I
just look
saw.
at, yeah. The only thing is how quickly that'll happen because the thing about the monarchy is that it's kind of like a momentum thing. It's been around for so long, she, especially Queen Elizabeth, was providing a kind of comfort because she didn't need to answer to the people about inflation or energy
No,
costs.
yeah,
All she would say is, "Well, let's be nice to each other," and so
right.
that's
And also, she had such a history and the things they went through World War II. But, somebody, I had an English friend that said that they need the tourism, and having a queen helps with tourism. But his numbers, Charles' numbers, he's like got a 20 something percent likable rate.
yeah.
I just get a feeling he's going to have some trouble with, he's going to try to get a Democratic house because that woman that's in there now is into fracking. Of course, he would not hear of it. He's
Yeah,
totally against that stuff.
he's really environmentally focused. Yeah, that's both what we know, and it's in his chart as well. He's got he was doing organic gardening even before it was popular.
But this country that people are so struggling, people's money, even the pound's not hardly worth $1 now.
Yeah, it's dropped a lot. I mean, it's
And gas is so, and it's like, wait a second, but in the meantime, you're feeding and taking care of all these monarchs
right.
where they have special guards, special this, all these people on the books.
Yeah, I mean, usually my sense would be that if there were going to be a change, it would probably take, and it could be William, by the way, because I don't know a lot about him, but he's got enough in there to be maybe a little bit rebellious against the institution itself, as in seeing through it. So, like, as soon as you
Right.
get someone in charge who starts to say, kind of like what's happened in other countries, where the monarch who instead of being king says, "Nah, it's okay," they'd rather live their life, doing something
Yeah.
else. Then it loses its steam because it depends on people like the Queen who step up and say, "No, I'm going to be here," and she was there for 70 years, right,
Yeah.
honoring the thing, and
And did all the pomps and circumstance and enjoyed
yeah,
it, having her tea at a certain time. She never
right.
had to wash a dress. She never had to do anything. They had a lot of picnics and parties. It must be fun. But in the real world, you might find some people being put off by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a trade-off though, because you trade off like the expense and the whole thing, and the possible, I don't know, the helpful nature of having a
Well,
stable.
they're the richest family ever.
Oh yeah,
She was the richest woman in the world. And a
yeah.
lot of the stuff they have, including one of the diamonds on her crown, is stolen material.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, that's the other thing that what came out concurrent with all this. There were all these, oh, the Queen is beautiful, and then you started hearing wait a second, what about colonialism? And, I
Yeah,
mean, the thing is, in the world, everybody's never happy at the same time, and someone always
no.
makes a point, counterpoint.
No, and this is more for show, but let me tell you something, it's an expensive show. The
Oh,
younger
no.
folks coming up now are going to say, no, we've had enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they'll wouldn't mind William as a king just to keep that kind of, but even the ones they have, even Charles, they have nothing. They're just a show. They're just puppets.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna be tracking it more now because I can tell when I track someone's chart more regularly. It's kind of like how I did with Trump from 2016. It's almost like I start to get in their mind and I can tell what they're really doing, and then I read the chart and I can tell what's gonna happen next. But I've been disconnected because I just didn't have any interest. And people would say, "Oh, the monarchy," and I think,
Yeah, I know. I know.
why spend time? They're like I mean, it's interesting if you're in England, maybe, but
Yeah.
now one thing that's cool is though that they're all of them have Charles, William, the Queen. They're accurate times, so you can actually look at the astrology, and some of the stuff that's happened. Like the one of the most remarkable, well, two, I would say the Queen now. It's a great chart for astrologers to study because of what just happened to her, even though she was 96, and the Diana death in 97 and what was happening in her chart and in Charles's chart is another remarkable bit of astrology where you just see, wow,
You can see where
you
yeah.
can see, yeah, where like you can see
But
in the
with
chart.
the Queen, I felt like something happened quickly. Like she already wasn't feeling well. Either she had a stroke or a heart attack.
Yeah, but at the end, because at the end it was quick, but the year 22 is a difficult year, was a difficult year for the
Yeah.
Queen because you can see it from about like May, even earlier than that. And I had heard, I wasn't paying attention a lot, but I had heard that back in the summer, the Queen's not doing well, she's not feeling so well. And I think then she went to the castle to recover and all that. That's Saturn pressure. Saturn came in and
Yeah. And also she lost her husband.
well, that too, which I
And he
mean,
lived to be 99. But I think her passing was very comfortable.
that I would say too, yeah, because,
Yeah.
because it was in her chart, she had there was strong Saturn, which can often be the final thing and final chapter, but there was also a lot of Jupiter, which Jupiter is the being freed, of your. I mean, the
Right.
woman spent her whole life. I mean, she
You
was.
know, when they said they were seriously concerned about her, psychically, I sort of tried to tap into her and I could see her father, King George, coming in for her. And he was like saying, I've come to get, I thought he said Elizabeth, but it could have been Lilybeth. But I've come to get, I've come to get her. I
Yeah,
wasn't her husband and it wasn't, I didn't see Diana,
King
but I
George.
saw him coming to get her.
He's the one that is portrayed in that movie, right?
Yeah, the one Colin Firth played him.
Colin Firth,
He
right,
had a
right, right.
stuttering problem. That was a good. Now you got me in the mood to watch that movie.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's a. I mean, in a way, it's a. It's a. It's like the Netflix story. Like you watch The Crown, whatever, and you realize, oh yeah, there was that point where the king didn't want to be king, and then there's the whole Diana thing, which was quite unusual. Let's face it, right? Because
Yeah,
she couldn't cope
she
with
had
it.
gone to an astrologer,
Oh, I bet. I
and the
bet
astrologer told her she'd never be queen. But the astrologer also told her that Charles would never be king. But he's king now.
he's king now. Yeah, yeah. So and we'll see how long it lasts. I would be surprised though if it wasn't at least a few years. I don't know. That's my feeling.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but the excuse me, the they're going to have the a vote like Australia can come out of the monarchy. There's a couple of islands that can come out of the monarchy, and that's in 2023.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is, it's curious because they were almost doing that. They're delaying that out of respect for the Queen, I think.
I think so too. I think Scotland will come out too.
Yeah, because I mean it's normal. These are things, they're relics of the past, and
Yeah, but they'll
colonialism.
still have their king and queen, maybe even living off their own. They have more money than God. So
Yeah,
have you looked at the commission the 28th of September? We're going back in front of the cameras.
the January 6th. Yeah, that's let's just say for Trump it's like this. Not good at all
Sweet
because
talker.
they keep pounding on what is pretty obvious, right? And notice now too that now we're in the election season, and people will say, "Ah, this stuff nobody listens." No, people listen. Like you don't have to get everybody; you just got to get a piece, right? A piece of the electorate that goes, "Yeah, this guy's a crook," because he is a crook, and so then either they don't vote or they vote for the other side. So not good, not good at all. That commission. Now the thing is, if, as we suspect, the election goes better for Democrats than many thought, then the commission will continue. The committee.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if the committee continues, the man is dead in the water. He's dead in the
And
water.
listen, they're talking about how many women are signing up to vote. It's amazing.
Yeah, the percentages are high. Yeah, that
I'm
was
telling you, that Roe versus Wade woke the sleeping giant,
absolutely. And they
and
don't
they
get.
know it.
You notice that in Michigan, they tried sneaking in a thing because they wanted to put in a citizens. I think it's a citizens initiative, a vote on the ballot. They wanted to put it on the ballot, and the Republicans don't want it on the ballot, and they were trying to use a technical thing to get rid of it by saying they were missing spaces. Some totally stupid story, and the Supreme Court said no, it's going to be on the ballot. So, in other words, you're seeing all these markers that tell you that this is not a good
Oh, and
topic.
they'll vote against they'll vote for Roe versus Wade, just like Kansas did.
Exactly, exactly. Which in this case is a vote for Democrats
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
election, which
That's
can't
that
be
they
good.
hand. I told telling you when they said Roe versus Wade, when they turned it around, my mind's eye said, they've handed the Democrats a gift.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is curious because you could see this in the cycles. You could see just like Trump downtrending in the middle of the year. I couldn't figure out, well, how does Biden get out of this jam? And the next thing you know, things just got better. The Supreme Court indirectly helped him, but then they passed that legislation. All of a sudden, he's doing a lot better, and you can see his prospect. He even looks more alive and more and happier. So the cycles did switch a lot this year,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
question. So
So what's the latest? What have you taken a look see on something that's
well, the one that which when this first came up, the news at the time, I thought, oh, maybe nothing's going to happen with Bannon, right? But now you're seeing Bannon, he second charge for the same thing that Trump acquitted him of, but you're seeing the state problem because you can't pardon state
right?
crime.
Well, so the thing is too, like Manafort was able to, you double indemnity, you couldn't hit him twice for the same thing. But the thing is with Bannon, he never really went to trial. He
Right.
hadn't been convicted yet. That's why they were able to do this.
And also, didn't I hear something that the law changed in New York that there was some
Oh
other
yeah,
law that
the governor changed it. Yeah,
okay, so in other words, but here's the thing. With Bannon's chart, you can see as soon as you see an upcoming cycle that is very unfavorable. And so all of 23, not good. In the context of being pursued by the Department of Justice, I would tell anybody, this isn't cool. You're in trouble, right?
right,
Now, then I know, well, what is he in trouble for? It's pretty obvious, right? That the
right.
guy, he's been breaking the law. And not only that, it signals that trouble for Trump because it's the same problem. Trump ran a scam. Like after he said, by the way, if you want to understand Trump, it's not complicated. Just think money. As soon as he saw the opportunity to make money, he could care less what it was. He realized, I tell these guys a lie, they're going to send me a lot of money. The problem is, he said, I want the money to defend democracy, blah, blah, blah. He didn't use it for that. That's a crime. And you can be charged for that
Oh
and
yeah,
convicted. So it's pointing in that direction as well. Now some are even saying, well, maybe Bannon is going to say something about Trump. All these guys are in on it. And, when you see these cycles moving in, it's same with Giuliani. Giuliani has a long runway to continue paying because Saturn keeps going through all his planets. But it's because he did things. People will sometimes say, oh, I don't like Saturn. You don't have to worry about Saturn if you're living your life.
if you're living a clean life, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you have a few obstacles, big deal. But if you start doing things like this, yeah, Saturn is a big problem, because it comes by, and whether it's Giuliani, Alex Jones now, that nut job from InfoWars,
Yeah.
he's getting a lot of pressure because he went out on a limb.
And then Bannon was talking, they'll all die getting the word out. This is a political. No, you stole money, sucker. What part of stealing money is being partisan?
The problem is that, there's the gap between, which I wish they would change the law. I honestly, it's really frustrating that you can say things in public and then you can go into a court and change your message. And that to me is horrible because, it confuses people because you'll say whatever, but then when he goes in front of a judge, the judge will throw you out. If you start saying, this is true, that's true, he'll say, where's the evidence for that, right? So they only go on what is actually true. So, and then, in the astrology, blah, 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 talk all you like. But if you have a Saturn square and you've been committing crimes, you have a problem. You have a problem. You're probably going to lose. It's it's that simple. And am I sorry? No. I think Steve Bannon is a very destructive, malevolent, self-interested, lying, SOB. I'm sorry, that's the way it
Right.
is. I don't see anything good there.
Trump got in there for a minute and all these cray-crays jump on board and they think, oh, we're going to run this country. But
Yeah,
democracy ran strong, thank God.
yeah. It's not easy to do. Whenever people are saying, "Oh, the U.S. is falling apart" and this and that, it's a long trajectory. This country's been around a long time, and you've got lots and lots of law enforcement, lawyers, people that are trying to uphold the law. It's not a simple thing, to go in and, I mean, and by the way, I mean, if you could at least be subtle about it, like, but Trump, I mean, no, I'm just going to take all the nuclear things home. Anybody could have told the guy, but see, he's in that way. That's why I often call him a moron
Oh,
because,
and Putin was showing off that he already had all the information.
yeah, 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 exactly. So it's in a way they're attracting their fate. It's not just that their fate is bad. You always have to link what's happening in your fate to what you've been doing, and a lot of it is your choice. He didn't have to do that, and the amazing part is he was given multiple opportunities, to backtrack, and they probably would have left him alone. But that's not the way he is. He keeps pushing. He's like he's a lot like you can see it in his chart. It's like a teenager mentality, someone who never grew up, and he thinks he can just push against all the rules and regulations and always get his way. And life has trained him poorly because up to now he sort of got away with it, but now it's tougher. It's tougher because he's putting everyone at risk, and also, by the way, there are all these lawyers. They're making their career taking him down, right? So,
Oh, they're just talking on the news right now, the risks that these attorneys are going through working for Trump because they could be in huge trouble.
well, yeah, okay, that's separate. That's the lawyers. Anybody that becomes a lawyer for him already kind of wonder, where their head is at. But that's totally true for those lawyers. But I'm talking about good lawyers that want to take him down. They have a big interest because it'll make their career, right? To
Right.
work. So the competitive nature of capitalist society really works against you when you've done these things because even if you just want to be crass and say, oh, they're not interested in the law, they're just interested in winning a case. So, I mean, they're pulling in the right direction. So then it's good. And there are many of those lawyers, in the DOJ and elsewhere. Like, I mean, look at Fox News. They're all worried about those lawsuits because they were lying through their teeth. And Dominion, the judges keep saying, "Yep, we're going to go to trial." You don't want that to go to trial because a lot of
It's
stuff.
going to trial. Yep.
Well, that's very risky because they're going to produce Fox News. It's on camera. They're saying blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to say, hey, is that true? No. Where was the evidence? We didn't have it. Why did you say it? It's complicated as heck. And in a society where lawyers are operating, you got to be very careful. But it takes time. And a lot of people get so impatient and they keep saying, oh, why hasn't it happened yet? This is nothing. In the legal world, it can take years and years, for justice to finally, um, you know.
Mark my words, this is going to clear a lot of things out. We're getting cleared out.
Yeah, and that's, by the way, often the unintended consequence on the good side of these troubling periods because, like, for instance, when the Nixon thing happened many years ago, they then implemented laws to try to
Prevent.
prevent, although that's one of the laws that is trying to violate because the Presidential Records Act, Nixon wanted to take them home too. He thought, Nixon's mantra was, well, if the president does it, it's not illegal, which
Yeah.
is, it's like saying, it's the same. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like saying if the Pope says it's from God. And I say, well, Let me assess each message separately, please.
Yeah.
just to, just to make sure. And it's the same with presidential power. You got to put in limits. But Trump is trying to apply the same logic. And what is really ironic, I mean, the Trump thing, Trump is just, I swear to God, when they make the Netflix series about Trump, it's going to be hilarious because the things he's done, like all this is so ironic in that this is what he was accusing Hillary of, right? And he even passed laws to make it more of a penalty, right? It used to be whatever, so many years. Now it's more because he
Yeah.
was saying, I'm
Oh,
gonna,
he said, classified,
yeah,
classified. What does
yeah,
that mean?
yeah,
And then he said, it's treason and you can be killed for it.
yeah, exactly. You can be killed, you can be put in jail. I think the thing with him is when I look at the August cycles, he was not expecting that. He was shocked. I think Trump, what he does is he looks around, and for instance, he saw Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland has this appearance of being this meek,
Me,
you
yeah.
know, civil servant, and he thought, this guy's not going to do anything to me. First of all, that guy's a Scorpio. Be careful.
Oh, I know.
Be careful because he's plotting your demise in the background. Number one. Number two, he's much better than Trump thought. And so,
And he's never lost a case, by the way.
yeah, exactly. So I think he sort of thought, oh, they'll never do that. They wouldn't dare, because if he really had been worried, maybe he would have taken all the documents and put them in, I don't know, Switzerland or something. He would have done something to make it impossible. But he left them, so that,
Haphazardly, yeah.
yeah. And by the way, furthermore, which is probably the most lethal thing, which is in his chart as well, and it's been there for years, continues to be a problem. I remember saying in 2018, 19, this guy's got a problem with people in his orbit giving him up, betraying him, his underlings. And the story I keep hearing is that part of the FBI raid was because there was someone who told them these things are in this place. So in other
Yeah.
words, they're using right. So that means someone in his orbit is not helping him out. Again, that's not good. That's like one of those mafia guys who, one of the insiders turns on them. That's how they go to the slammer. So he's got multiple problems. And then probably the worst is the danger to his health. Yeah, when you brought up this thing about he ended up at Walter Reed, yeah, absolutely.
Or so he says, who knows? He was red-faced, he had his white golf shirt on, his golf shoes, coming off the plane, looking weird. I thought maybe he got arrested.
Well, no, he didn't. I don't think he got arrested, but let's just say that,
But
yeah,
I see some sort of thing happening, mark my words, mark it here, that I see the DOJ or, Secret Service or FBI coming and taking him out. Like he's going to be handcuffed and taken in.
really,
That's what I saw. But he might not go to jail, but I just see them taking him in.
from your lips to
That's what I see.
the ears of the universe. No,
And he's wearing a white shirt, so it could be right off the golf course.
I mean, by the way, the thing is, even though a lot of these Republican lackeys unbelievably are saying, oh, it's just a records dispute, it's a storage issue. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Honestly, because this is really serious stuff. Because
I know.
you can really cause damage. I mean, it's not a joke.
He has caused damage. That's how they figured out something was wrong because
Right,
people in it out there, our intel, were getting killed. And
right,
they said, who's the mole? Who gave us up? And they
exactly,
traced it back to Trump.
exactly. And it fits I mean, it's not the only thing that fits, but it fits the pattern in his chart to get in trouble for the very same thing he used to
Against, yeah,
tarnish Hillary. It's there. It's the idea of yeah, records, papers, things that contain information, right? Which he then, as he always does, because the man is wired to be a criminal.
right.
I know I guarantee you there'll be some Trumpers on the channel. Oh no, Biden's the criminal. No, he's not. The guy you follow is the criminal. The man is criminal minded. That's all he does. He's criming from morning to night. That's his life, right?
Right, right.
Well, problem with that is when you crime from morning to night, you attract the attention of the police and the DOJ and the FBI
Right.
and all the rest. That's just how it is. So good
So,
luck.
I just have to ask you as our closing question, anything on Zelensky on the Ukraine? Did you happen to take a look? See?
Well, I haven't looked at Zelensky's, but I know it in my mind the impression that I had. I remember when I first did a video on him back when Russia attacked, I mentioned that he was really at pretty grave risk because of the aspects, right? But what I should have added is that when that doesn't happen at that time, at minimum, you're in a dire situation where the death that isn't inflicted upon you, you're kind of surrounded by, which is what's happened. I mean, he's been in this really rough period. And basically, Zelensky being Aquarius, and that's the part that is being really challenged, that energy changes a lot next year in the spring, which is when things change for Putin. So, in other words, but I would say you have to wait a few months, right? You're
Okay.
waiting for now, but he's done well so far, given how horrible it is. I mean, can you imagine being the leader of a country where all these people are
Oh,
dying?
it's just awful. And they're so happy right now. They pushed those Russians back. And the Russians are putting their arms down. They're saying we're done, kind of like they did with Afghanistan.
Yeah, although they're not leaving the whole thing, and I would be shocked if Putin didn't do something, at least in the
Yeah,
short
well,
term.
they want him gone. They want Putin gone. That's the difference now. They're
Yeah,
asking, the bigwigs are asking him to step down.
yeah. My sense here is this the Saturn cycle in the spring of 23 is going to shift a lot of things.
Okay.
What that being one, yeah, for sure. So,
Because
but
he's the type that would try to do something mean again. He's just so ugly.
yeah, no, and he's. I've often said to people, he's like a peasant. He doesn't really think through. He's so enamored of his own, you know, theories of
Like
the
Trump.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Trump. Yeah, like they're not. They think they're brilliant, but they're only seeing, you know, this narrow field. And you know, if they say, "Oh, I'm a genius," well, if you were a genius, you would have figured out that this wouldn't work this way because you didn't guess that all of Europe would unite, and they seem pretty committed now. You know, there are some stories about energy is going to cost a lot, but it sounds like they're in on the. You know, they're going to hang tough. And the bottom line is, you shouldn't go to war when your economy, when the value of your economy is 1/20th or 1/40th of your enemy. That's just not bright. That's a great way to get yourself in trouble because if the other side has more money, they buy more weapons. And when they buy more weapons, what are you going to do, right?
Exactly.
That's what's
Exactly.
happening now, right? So,
I love it. All right, my friend.
all right, that was fun as always.
Maybe again next Monday. Oh, no, not next Monday because I'm going to Disneyland. Has to be the Monday after.
Okay, no problem.
All
Have
right,
fun
sweetie.
at Disneyland. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.